perhaps in the works. Here now, Representative Mo Brooks, Congressman from Alabama. Congressman, do you expect a deal before the 17th?
I don't know. A lot will depend on whether we can get a package, a proposal from the other side of the aisle that is financially responsible, one that both opens up the government under spending terms that our country can afford, raises the debt ceiling, again, under spending terms that our country can afford, and also takes into account the need to minimize the risk of an insolvency and bankruptcy resulting from 5 consecutive years of deficits that average over $1 trillion per year.
What does that mean? Does that mean going ahead with the sequestration levels, that you'd be okay with that?
Well, I'm open to any kind of suggestions on how to walk this narrow path that both opens the government, raises the debt ceiling, and adequately minimizes the risk of an American insolvency and bankruptcy. But to date, there have been 0 proposals from the other side of the aisle that does that, and that puts us in a quandary. On the Republican side, yes, we can surrender and just give in and open up the government at the spending levels that the other side wants, raise the debt ceiling, but all that does is kick the problem down the road where we are weaker and less able to address it because of the additional debt burden that we've taken on.
Do you want more discretionary cuts, or is it all about entitlements with you, Congressman?
Well, I'm flexible on where the cuts can be. Certainly, there is no part of the federal spending that is immune from efficiency, from spending cuts. Personally, I prefer the giveaway programs, the welfare programs, the foreign aid, things of that nature that are less productive than, say, the FBI, which is law enforcement, or the military, which is national security. We're going to have to do a tough job of prioritizing. But again, so long as we just raise the debt ceiling willy-nilly, we kick the can down the road. Eventually, we're going to have to address this issue. If we don't, then we're going to have an insolvency and bankruptcy. And the longer we wait, the more difficult it's going to be, because the weaker our country will be because of the increasing debt load.
Congressman, I don't want to put words, Dick Parsons is here, and I don't want to put words in his mouth. But we had a conversation earlier in the hour where, Dick, and you can say it yourself, you suggested that there were certain factions of the Republican Party, I think that's where you're referring to, that you thought were being anti-democratic, not just anti-democratic. When you think, Congressman, when you think about the polarization of both your party and the country, do you think that there's a part of your party that's anti-democratic?
No, I don't, not at all. I think that we're pro-American. We recognize the seriousness of the financial issues that we've been in. Heck, the President's own Comptroller General, Gene Dodaro, sent us writing a letter this year to the White House and the United States Congress saying that we were financially on a quote-unquote unsustainable path. We need to heed these warnings. This is very, very serious for our country. We could very easily slip down the road of Greece, where the unemployment rate is 27%.
But Congressman, we understand that we need to deal with some of this stuff for sure. But the financial calamity that could come from if we actually did default, and I'm not talking about if we just go over the 17th and we, I don't know, wait a few days, or, you know, some people think that there's a way of prioritizing payment. But the actual default itself and the financial, near-term financial calamity that could cause, it wouldn't be worth bringing that on just to get our long-term entitlement house in order, or to make some kind of a point, right?
Well, to make a point, no. But to get our financial house in order, absolutely. A bankruptcy is far worse than not raising the debt ceiling, as bad as not raising the debt ceiling may be. And this is the only way.
Bankruptcy is years off, right? I mean, you would take a near-term meltdown of the global financial system to make the point about the long-term entitlement issues?
I'm not talking about making a point. I'm talking about trying to fix a problem before it's too late.
Well, let's say the other side will not allow you to solve all our entitlement issues in the next 3 days.
Well, then we're in a world of hurt if they continue to be as financially irresponsible as they have been with the solvency of a nation that has taken 2 centuries to build.
No, I guess the question I have is, you know, you're defining insolvency as being unable to sort of, you know, having our liabilities exceed our assets. It's been a while since I practiced law, but it used to be that insolvency was also failure to pay your obligations when they come due. Either of those constitutes bankruptcy, and I'm trying to understand the differentiation you're making.
Fine. If you're talking about a default in the financial markets, we're really talking about our ability to pay our creditors. We have roughly $2.5 trillion a year in revenue. According to the GAO, roughly $250 billion a year in interest obligations. We have the revenue to pay all of our creditors 100% of what we owed. Moody's has agreed with this. The GAO says the president has discretion to pay our creditors if he wants to.
We got to run. Do you think Jack Lew was lying about the 17th date as not the day that we default, but getting very, very close?
He uses the word default in a more expansive way than I would just use it. I'm talking about paying our creditors.
Security. Yeah, there are a lot of promises that have been made.
Congressman, we appreciate you coming on this morning.
Thank you.
Coming up.